All right, y'all. Got these Week 12 DraftKings sleeper picks. All right, now, first one, I'm going to go with Andrew Luck. Luck's playing at home against the Dolphins. Uh, I think he's going to have a good game here. Miami's kind of cashed in for the season, I think. I mean, they got an outsider's chance of making the playoffs, but I think you're going to be exposed seriously here. But against Andrew Luck, who is making a comeback, and for $6,400, I think Luck is going to perform big. Now, for $5,800, I've got Aaron Rodgers. Now, while I do not agree with this controversy that Aaron Rodgers is the second best quarterback in the league, nor do I think he's the third or fourth or maybe even fifth best quarterback in the league. I mean, Roethlisberger's better than him. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Drew Brees is definitely better than him. That's pretty obvious. But at any rate, that's a different video, different topic. Aaron Rodgers, though, at $5,800 at Minnesota, I think he's going to outperform. They're not going to be able to run it on Minnesota's defense. So Aaron Rodgers is going to have to pass the ball, and he's going to put up some points for fantasy purposes. Now, next I got Cuz, all right? Kirk Cousins, $5,500 in the same game playing against Green Bay's defense. They're in that artificial surface. It's quick surface, and same they got in New Orleans, and that's conducive to putting up points for fantasy football. So Kirk Cousins for $5,500, I think he's going to perform pretty well for that money. Now next I've got Lamar Jackson. They priced him at $5,700. That's kind of modest. But I'm from Louisville. I watch Louisville football, and I know what Lamar Jackson can really do when he's up against an inferior defense. And that's what the Raiders have, is an inferior defense right now. And Lamar Jackson, if he just goes out there and he beats himself, like they say, then if he beats himself, then he's going to have a good game. He's going to be able to ball out against the Raiders. And for $5,700, I think Lamar Jackson's worth that money. All right. Now, going over to running backs, Giovanni Bernard and Joe Mixon. All right. Now, for $4,000, Giovanni Bernard, he's probably a little bit better value because I think they're both gonna ball out pretty hard here. Mixon's a little bit more expensive at $6,800, but Giovanni Bernard, $4,000. I think he's going to be worth that. I expect this to be a high-scoring game. If you watch my other video on the picks, I pick it to be a tie, essentially, a high-scoring tie in overtime. So I like both those guys, but Bernard a little bit more because they're probably going to end up with the same amount of points, but Bernard's $4,000. Now, in that same game, we got Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is $6,300. He's kind of out of the box, and Duke Johnson at $5,400. They're probably going to outperform those numbers. I don't know by how much. That's kind of expensive for those guys, just because these guys know that this is going to be a high-scoring game. But if you need somebody in there that you think is going to be solid, they're worth a shot. They're not overpriced like a lot of those other guys at $7,000 or $8,000. Nick Chubb, Duke Johnson. Look at all those guys kind of in that Cleveland-Cincinnati game. Now, next we got Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack, he's over here, $5,500 against Miami. He's probably going to outperform that. The same reason I like Luck. So Marlon Mack's worth considering $5,500. I also got Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler, $3,700 playing against the Cardinals. Now, either way, Austin Eckler for $3,700 is going to be worth it because Arizona's pass defense is pretty decent, but their run defense is no good. So the Chargers, a two-headed monster with the run game, is going to be a good play for the $3,700 backup running back. But at the same time, Melvin Gordon is questionable right now. So if Gordon doesn't play, then Eckler's going to be a great choice for that for 3,700. He's a starting running back for a running team with for $3,700. And even if Gordon doesn't play, or does play rather, then he's going to be probably limited to some point because he's coming off an injury, unless it's a fake injury. But he's probably going to be limited at some point. And for $3,700, Austin Eckler's he's definitely worth it. Now, next guy I got Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards had a breakout game with the Ravens last week because he plays in packages with Lamar Jackson. Now, being that Joe Flacco is going to be out again this week, then Gus Edwards is going to probably be in the most of the packages that they're running with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's a special player. He's the kind of guy that you run plays that are made for him and the guys around him to perform. And since Gus Edwards is accustomed to him, he's going to be worth it. Now, I'm sure probably 0.01 people had him last week in fantasy, but this week, Gus Edwards is $4,400 playing against the sorry-ass Raiders defense. So I want to go with Gus Edwards, man. $4,400. I think he's going to ball out. I think the Ravens are going to make a statement. They need this win to make a playoff push, and the Raiders are looking for at the draft right now. So, in speaking on that note, we're going to move on to wide receivers. In that same game, you have Michael Crabtree, ex-Raider. We never should have got rid of Crabtree, man. Crabtree, yeah, he wasn't a perfect receiver. What did he do? He scored touchdowns. Crabtree can score. He scored touchdowns. And I guarantee you that because he understands the Raiders and he knows the players, he's going to go out there and he's going to want to ball out perform in Baltimore against his former team, the Raiders. And for $4,600, Michael Crabtree, I think he's going to be worth that money. He's going to be a steal for that. I guarantee you he's going to try to ball out. He's going to try to ball out hard just to show the Raiders that they never should have got rid of him. Before Khalil Mack and before Amari Cooper, they got rid of Crabtree. And Crabtree's going to try to show out. $4,600, you got to go with it. Now, on a similar note, even though that was a long time ago, Emmanuel Sanders, $5,500 against the Steelers. All right, Denver's going to make a push for this game. I don't think they're going to win it. It's going to be close, I think. But Emmanuel Sanders, I think, will be a big part of that because he understands the Steelers system. He knows the players. He knows the coach. And Emmanuel Sanders is going to ball out, I think, against the Steelers. And they're in Denver. And he's going to perform. I don't want to get too cocky with it, but I think he'd probably go for 2 touchdowns. So, same thing with Crabtree against the Raiders. I think he'd probably go for 2 touchdowns right there. I mean, these guys have chips on their shoulders, and they got a reason to show out, and they got the knowledge to do so. So we're going to move on here to the tight ends. Jeff Heuerman, over here, $3,400 with Denver in that same game. Pittsburgh's soft against tight ends, $3,400. Yeah, it might be a bit of a stretch for $3,400. But Pittsburgh's soft against the tight ends, and I think the fact that with the Emmanuel Sanders, they're playing in Denver, he's going to probably have a decent game too. Next, we got Greg Olsen with the Panthers. They're playing at home against the Seahawks, $4,400. That's disrespectful for Greg Olsen. So, it is what it is. They're not giving him his props. He's coming off an injury. His numbers aren't big right now. So, hey, take advantage of it. $4,400, Greg Olsen. That's straight right there. Next, we got Ed Dickson. Ed Dickson, playing with Seattle now, is in Carolina, $2,600. Same thing. He's playing against his old team. He used to play for the Panthers. Now he's playing with Seattle. He knows the system. He knows, the players. Not too far recently removed from those players. And I think Ed Dickson's, he's liable to get something done. Russell Wilson's a smart guy. He's the type of quarterback that likes to trust his a receiver and trust his other players. So I think Ed Dixon will get in his ear, and Ed Dixon will have a good game. So we're going to go on to defense, and for defense, we got Houston, the Texans, at home against the Titans. $3,000. $3,000. I think they'll outperform that. Titans are struggling right now. Houston's firing all cylinders, trying to make that playoff push right now. I like the Houston defense for $3,000, and I also like the Buffalo defense. Buffalo doesn't have much to play for except pride. They're pretty much playing preseason games trying to figure out what's going on. And Buffalo defense for $2,700 against Jacksonville, who can't figure out what to do, is a great deal.